So, the second reason people stay in domestic violence is often because, again, they have not ever seen a woman stand up to a man's anger, or a man stand up to a woman's anger. So when they have not been taught how to draw an emotional boundary, and I suffer from this one too, the whole three, I've been majorly dysfunctional, so I've had to learn how to work through all of the different three elements. But if a child grows up in a home where, for example, there is sexual violence, physical violence, or verbal abuse, if a child grows up in a home where they witness that, any of that, let's just take verbal abuse, for example, they witness the father consistently putting the mother down, or the mother consistently ruling the roost and henpecking the man. Children either rebel or conform with apps that have been installed if they've not been celebrated to set their own boundaries and make up their own mind in adolescence, which is what adolescence is about, when elders sort of go, well, this is the way we've done it and this is the way society does it, and you've got to work out how you're going to do it. You've got to find your own truth. But they're supported to have a difference of opinion from elders. But if they're not supported, the old do as I say, not as I do elder tutelage, a child will rebel or conform. So if they had verbal violence and watched people not speak up, they might rebel and become verbally. So let's just say hypothetically, if a boy grows up in a home where his dad's consistently belittled by his mother, he might then become a man who rebels and consistently belittles women, almost trying to reverse history and get some payback, but he's punishing the wrong woman. Or the opposite might be true. The person that grew up in the violence watches the verbal fight and decides to say nothing and remain passive. But either way, what happens is that cycle of domestic violence continues because the old app is dominating. So when people haven't been taught how to install boundaries and say, because everybody has the right to be angry. People get angry. That's a healthy alarm. Sometimes it's unhealthy to not get angry. You break into my home and, hurt my dog. You break into my home. I remember when I was a single mum in the pension and I had some guys break the window of my car. I ran down the road in my pajamas. My boys were 7 and 9 asleep in the bed. I was angry. It probably wasn't the most functional thing to do, but I'm not an icon of functionality. I share a lot on what not to do. But what I'm trying to say is everyone in the home has a right to be angry. But anger is not violence. Anger is not abuse. Anger is not rage. And anger is not cruelty. Anger is that line when someone's crossed your line, the anger where they end and you begin, where you say, this is not okay. I'm angry about this. We're going to have to work this out. This is not okay with me. That's anger. Everybody has the right to be angry, but nobody has the right to be cruel. And if people have grown up in a home where anger and sadness are not processed, when people get angry or sad, they put it under the rug or they dump it on somebody else. Emotional boundaries have not been set. And that's often why people stay, because they don't know what else to do. And also have no other reference point, because any other relationship they take on, if you haven't got the app installed of healthy emotional boundaries around anger and around your emotional morality of what your deal breakers are, if you don't have boundaries set around that, it doesn't matter who you're in a partnership with. Because if the boundary's not set, they'll overstep them. So number 2 is, for people that don't have the boundaries set and don't know how to set them, and they don't know that they don't know.